Individual values, abbreviated as IVs, are the genes of a Pokemon. They play a pretty significant role in how well it will perform in each of the 6 stats available in the games. A Pokemon's IVs are each a number from 0 to 31, with 31 being the best possible. In general, a Pokemon's IVs are hidden from the player. However, after beating the game and seeing the credits, you can speak to the nurse at a Pokemon Center to unlock the Judge function. This allows you to see a phrase on each stat, indicating the general range for its IV value in that stat. The chart on screen details what each phrase means. If you want a really strong Pokemon, the goal is usually to get what is known as a perfect Pokemon, one with 6 bests, meaning they are all at 31. This can happen in the wild, albeit extremely rarely. However, in most cases, your best bet will be to breed Pokemon for those perfect stats. If you don't know how to breed at all, I'd suggest checking out my simple guide to breeding and then coming back to this video later. I'm going to assume if you're still here that you at least know some basics of how to get eggs. If the parent Pokemon you have to start with has no perfect stats, simply breed it with a Ditto or another compatible Pokemon until one of the children does. When breeding, 3 stats from the parents are chosen to pass down, and the other 3 stats are given a random value from 0 to 31. Unless you are horribly unlucky, you'll most likely see at least one new perfect IV in a full box of eggs. If the parent Pokemon you have to start with has any perfect stats at all, I'd begin by trying to pass those down. If they have a single perfect IV, using a power item that matches that stat is highly recommended. Say for example you have a best HP. Putting the power weight on and then breeding more eggs will result in the new children always having the parent's best HP stat. If you have perfect IVs spread between your parent Pokemon, you can breed with 2 power items equipped, although this will not guarantee both bests or pass. What will happen is one of the 2 power items will be chosen randomly to pass that IV. Then 2 of the remaining 5 stats will be chosen through normal inheritance rules. If the game selects the stat that is the same as the other power item, then the IV of the parent holding that power item will also be passed. If you hatch a child that has better stats than its parent, replace the parent and continue breeding. I usually only use double power item breeding until I find 2 parents with 3 IVs each, at which point the Destiny Knot becomes a lot more useful to you than power items, especially if the best stats for your parent Pokemon are beginning to overlap. Having a parent hold the Destiny Knot will cause 5 IVs to be inherited from the parent Pokemon instead of the normal 3. If you've managed to get offset best stats, meaning they aren't on both parents, you can use a power item and the Destiny Knot together to guarantee one stat and randomly select 4 of the 5 remaining stats from the parent. At this point, it's just continue pairing up the best IV offspring until eventually you get matching 5 IV parents, which will then breed together for a 6 IV offspring. In all truth, a 6 IV Pokemon is somewhat unnecessary. Most Pokemon are either physical or special attackers, so having a 5 IV Pokemon that favors the species attack preference is just as good as a full 6 IV Pokemon, since you'll most likely not be teaching it moves with the non-favorable attacking type. There are of course exceptions to this, but in general, going for 5 IVs takes less time and will still serve you pretty well. You can also skip ahead when breeding by finding a parent Pokemon in Tera Raid dens. Every Tera Raid is guaranteed 1 perfect IV for 1 to 2 star, 2 for 3 star, 3 for 4 star, 4 for 5 star, and 5 for 6 star. The last stat for 6 star raids is random, making there effectively be a 1 in 31 chance that it can be a 6 IV Pokemon. Also be aware of the fact that you can max out a Pokemon's IV values via hyper training after level 50. Giving this guy in Montenevera a bottle cap will make the Pokemon stat act as though you have a 31 in it, although this change is only applicable for the purpose of battling. If breeding with a hyper-trained Mon, the original IV value is passed to any offspring. But if you're just looking to have high stats for battles, hyper training will save you a lot of time. If you need something like a 0 stat in speed for a Trick Room team, then breeding remains necessary. Or want a 0 attack stat for less damage from confusion or foul play, then breeding is still relevant for that too. But if you're going for the max, unless you seriously care about your Mons being inherently genetically strong, just use the bottle caps. It'll save you a ton of time at the cost of a few thousand Pokédollars. And that's it for IV breeding. If you want to know more about other aspects of breeding, check out the playlist here. Thanks for watching! I hope you have a lovely day.